In this emotional piece of work, we explore several remarkable rags-to-riches journeys that are bound to leave you inspired. These are not fairy tales, but real stories of people who once had nothing, no shelter, no money, and in some cases, born into poor families, yet rose to unimaginable success. From sleeping in public bathrooms to building billion-dollar empires, these stories show us that the lowest points in life often become the launching pad for greatness. What you're about to see is more than just inspiration. It's real evidence that hard times don't last, but tough people do. First up, John Paul DeJoria, a name now synonymous with success, but it all started with struggle. His message is simple: take control. Homeless at 22, raising a toddler alone, he came home from work one day to find his wife walking out with their only car keys. Inside, his son sat alone on a pile of clothes with a note that read, "I can't handle being a mom anymore. He's better off with you." She had stopped paying the rent, drained their savings, and vanished. Within days, the power was shut off and they were evicted. He had no car, no job, and a child depending on him. He borrowed an old Cadillac with a broken water pump, refilling it every 4 hours just to stay mobile. Then came the second wave of homelessness. When he tried to start John Paul Mitchell Systems, he was promised $500,000 in funding and left his stable job and home to start the company. But the investor backed out. Too proud to return home, he lived out of his car, showered at public parks, and hustled door to door with hair products. Against all odds, he pushed forward and built a billion-dollar business. Next, we have Jack Ma. His advice? Be resourceful. Born into poverty, his family shared a cramped living space. They could only afford chicken once a year. In 1972, when China opened its doors to the West, Jack saw an opportunity. As American tourists began visiting his hometown, he offered himself as a free English-speaking guide. In return, he learned not just the language, but the worldview that came with it. What he picked up from those tourists clashed with the ideas he'd learned from Chinese textbooks, and it sparked something new in him: perspective. It was this resourcefulness that laid the foundation for him to one day create Alibaba, one of the world's largest e-commerce companies. Then there's Oprah Winfrey, who teaches us to envision a greater future. Raised on a farm by her grandmother, Oprah's early life was marked by hardship, but from a very young age, she knew she was destined for something different. She didn't know what exactly, but she could feel it. At just 4 years old, she stood on the back porch watching her grandmother boil clothes over an open fire and thought, "My life won't be like this. It will be better." Not arrogance, just an unshakable sense of destiny. That belief carried her through years of abuse, discrimination, and poverty to become one of the most powerful women in the media. Fourth, we meet Chris Gardner, whose story inspired the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. His message? Own your life. There was a time when he and his son lived in a public restroom, washing themselves in the sink, hiding from security guards, and asking the tough questions. How did we get here? Chris realized he had driven himself into that situation through choices he had made, and the only way out was to take full responsibility. That realization was painful, but empowering. If he drove into it, he could drive out. And he did. From homelessness to Wall Street, Chris Gardner's journey is a reminder that change starts with accountability. Next is Howard Schultz, who urges us to remember that your lottery of birth does not define you. Growing up in the projects of Brooklyn, his family struggled to pay $96 a month in rent. But Howard's mother planted a dream in him that with the right tools such as diligence and education, a better life was possible. That belief pushed him to create Starbucks, transforming how the world experiences coffee. He didn't come from wealth, but he created something that touched lives globally, and he never let where he came from define where he was going. Then we have Sam and Bud Walton, the minds behind Walmart. They didn't have big funds, but they had each other, and they had determination to escape poverty, from operating on borrowed funds to pulling outrageous stunts like running ice cream machines on the sidewalk just to attract customers. They were true entrepreneurs. They fought, they compromised, but once they made a decision, they were in it together. Their hard work wasn't glamorous, but it gave them a vehicle to ride into success. Their story reminds us that partnership and persistence can beat even the roughest odds. We have Conor McGregor, a well-known athlete. As a kid, Conor would kick a ball against the wall and celebrate like he'd just scored in front of thousands. Those were more than games. They were visions, though he had to take a plumbing job to quiet his doubters, waking at 6 a.m., riding the motorway for hours, working back-breaking shifts in freezing weather. It wasn't for him. It crushed his spirit. He left that life behind, chasing MMA with everything he had. He knew the world didn't see his potential yet, but he did. He trained, he fought, and he climbed the ranks until his dream became reality. Now, he stands as a champion, not just in the cage, but in life. Another iconic grass-to-grace story you wouldn't believe is Louis Vuitton's. The name alone oozes wealth, status, and sophistication. But what if I told you this empire, now flaunted by the rich and famous, was born out of hunger, abandonment, and pure desperation? The man behind the brand was once a homeless teenager. No schooling, no money, not even a roof over his head. He slept in forests, walked for weeks on end, and worked odd jobs just to eat. Today, Louis Vuitton is a global giant, but its roots are tangled in heartbreak, war, betrayal, and a hostile corporate takeover that nearly ripped the brand apart. This is the unbelievable, tragic, and inspiring origin story of Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton was born in 1821 in Angers, a remote French village where life was hard and opportunity was scarce. His father was a miller. His mother made hats. And school? That was 6 miles away, so young Louis never went. Instead, he worked on the family farm from sunup to sundown, just to survive. But then, tragedy came knocking. At just 10 years old, Louis lost his mother. His father remarried, and the new stepmother turned his life into a nightmare. Controlling, cruel, and relentless, she made home feel like prison. So, one cold night at 13, Louis ran away, leaving behind everything he knew, with no idea what would come next. Paris was the dream, but it was 225 miles away, and Louis had no food, no money, and no plan. He walked the entire distance on foot, sleeping in the woods, foraging for scraps, and working in exchange for meals. He picked up small skills: carpentry, metalwork, fabrics, from craftsmen in tiny villages. Each skill added to his growing toolkit. But the road was slow and brutal. It took him 3 years to reach Paris, and yet he made it. Alone, starving, and without formal education, he arrived not as a boy but as a survivor, and that was only the beginning. In Paris, he landed a job as an apprentice to a box maker and packer, a niche job that involved crafting travel trunks for the elite. It was tedious work, but Louis was sharp and observant. He noticed the details others ignored. Soon, his craftsmanship caught the attention of royalty. In 1851, the Empress of France appointed him as her personal box maker. For a poor runaway, this was unthinkable. But Louis wasn't satisfied with praise alone. He had a vision. In his 30s, he opened his own workshop and began designing his own luggage. And that's when he changed travel forever. Back then, trunks were made of leather with dome-shaped tops to help rain slide off, but they were bulky and couldn't be stacked. Louis saw the flaw and designed something revolutionary: flat-topped trunks made of canvas. They were lighter, more durable, and perfectly stackable. Genius. He released a product catalog and offered custom orders that could be delivered straight to your home. The elite couldn't get enough. Royals from as far as Egypt were placing orders. Within just 2 years, Louis had gone from poverty to prestige, and his luggage was officially a status symbol. By 1859, business was booming. He opened a larger workshop outside Paris and hired a team of 20 craftsmen to meet rising demand. Meanwhile, global travel exploded. Trains, ships, steamliners, and Louis Vuitton became the luggage brand of the future. But just as the world opened up for Louis, disaster struck again. In 1870, war broke out. Louis was 49 when he was forced to flee his home, living in a crowded shelter with little food. When he returned, everything was gone. His shop was looted, windows smashed, equipment stolen, years of work destroyed. And yet, Louis didn't flinch. He rebuilt. This time he chose a better location, near the train station and a luxury hotel. Travelers would pass by daily, desperate for quality luggage. In 1872, he launched a new design with striped beige canvas that became a sensation. Everyone wanted one. Rivals tried to copy it, but Louis's craftsmanship was unmatched. His luggage wasn't just functional, it was aspirational. Over the next 20 years, he worked tirelessly until his death at age 70. But his legacy, that was only just beginning. His son Georges inherited the company and took it global, transforming Vuitton from a French favorite into a worldwide icon. When people hear Rolex, they think luxury, legacy, and untouchable prestige. But few know it all began with a broken boy, not a billionaire. The Rolex empire, now worth around $8 billion, started over a century ago with an orphan teenager whose inheritance was stolen. He had no parents, no support, and no money, but he had ambition. Hans Wilsdorf ran away from grief and injustice, crossed borders, and dared to build something from nothing. What began as one man's escape became the beginning of the modern wristwatch. Hans Wilsdorf was a penniless orphan whose inheritance was stolen, but he turned heartbreak into history. He founded Rolex, the world's most exclusive watch brand, now valued at over $8 billion. Despite never having children, he created lasting generational wealth through the Wilsdorf Foundation, ensuring Rolex stays private, untouchable, and charitable forever. From nothing to timeless luxury, Wilsdorf didn't just build watches, he built a legacy. Honda's life began in poverty. Born to a blacksmith father in a rural Japanese village, with no formal education beyond elementary school, he left home at 15 to work as a mechanic in Tokyo, starting from the bottom, cleaning floors and running errands. But what he lacked in privilege, he made up for in creativity and diligence. He faced devastating failures, including the collapse of his first company during World War II. But each setback only sparked new ideas. He lost everything more than once: money, factories, even his health, but he never lost his drive to build something better. After the war, with Japan in ruins and materials scarce, Honda strapped a motor onto a bicycle, turning a desperate idea into a national solution. That simple innovation gave birth to Honda Motor Company, and within decades, the poor village boy who once worked in garages was at the helm of a global automotive powerhouse. His story is a powerful reminder that creativity and hard work can lift anyone from grass to grace, turning failure into fuel and dreams into legacy. As a closing note, we are reminded of Marshall Mathers, aka Eminem, whose rise is a textbook rags to riches tale fueled by creativity and hard work. After enduring childhood trauma, poverty, and early career failures, he leveraged raw talent, dark storytelling, and technical skill to reinvent hip-hop. Landmark albums: The Marshall Mathers LP, 2000; The Eminem Show, 2002; Recovery, 2010, broke records, earned further Grammys, and helped him sell over 220 million records worldwide. Beyond music, he built Shady Records, acted in 8 Mile, won an Oscar for Lose Yourself, and founded the Marshall Mathers Foundation. From trailer parks to global superstardom, Eminem exemplifies how meeting the right people, honing talent, and the willingness to work can rewrite your destiny. And that, perhaps, is the real secret to rising from rags to riches. Your self-worth doesn't depend on external acceptance. Never give up, not even when you're broke, homeless, or doubted by everyone around you. These stories show us that you can rise from the bottom and change your world and the world of others. If you want even more inspiration, kindly subscribe and scroll through our channel for more stories. Until then, believe in yourself, raise your standards, and don't forget to leave a comment with the most inspiring rags to riches story you've ever heard.